Hi everyone. In this video, we will learn about three-dimensional projections in JavaScript. But first, let's get an understanding of the basics. On the fundamental level, the first dimension to visualize is a single dot. Now, if we add another dimension, we get a line. Taking it a step further, when we add a third dimension, we move into 3D space. This is how we perceive the world around us. And, of course, if we add extra dimensions, things can start to look a bit strange. But let's keep it simple. 3D dimensions are how we measure and visualize things in the real world. However, when we work with computers, the screen itself is 2D. So, to display 3D objects on a 2D surface, we need to flatten that extra dimension. This is where 3D projection comes in. This projection is just a mathematical computation of the new coordinates in 2D space. In JavaScript, we can do this using a function. Now let's dive into the code. Let's start by creating our HTML template with a canvas element and script tag. We can then initialize some variables. First, we grab the canvas using getElementById, and then get the 2D rendering context since we're going to do a 3D projection from scratch. Also, we define some constants like the width and height of the canvas, and some projection values like focal length f and view distance d. These control how the 3D points will be projected into 2D. We can now create the 3D to 2D projection function. This is the core of our 3D projection. It takes in a 3D point and returns the corresponding 2D coordinates by applying a simple perspective projection formula. This makes objects appear smaller as they move farther away, just like in real life. Then we create a simple function called point that draws a circle on the canvas, basically a dot. We'll use this to represent a point in 3D space after it is projected. We also create a line function lets us connect two 2D points with a line. This will help us build edges of our 3D shape later. Then we move on to defining our vector class, which represents our 3D points. This class has methods to project itself to 2D, rotate around the XYZ axis, and scale itself around a center point. Pretty cool, right? After that, we define a simple function called vec, which is just a helper function that returns a new vector object, which is our 3D point with XYZ coordinates. Next, we create a model class. This helps us group points and edges together, basically forming shapes. In this video, we're working with a cube, so we define 8 corner points and connect them with edges. The model class also has its own draw function that draws all its points and then draws lines between them using the edges. We also added functions to rotate and scale the model so that we can animate it and make it look more dynamic. We also create a function to help generate instances of models, and then we create an instance of our cube using the model class. Finally, we have the animation loop. This is achieved using an update function which clears the screen, rotates the model slightly, draws the model, and repeats the process using the inbuilt request animation frame. So with that code setup, we now have a simple implementation of 3D projection in JavaScript using a 2D canvas. You can find the source code for this project in the description. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more coding videos. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.